Probably the fastest growing company is this dog waste removal business, which honestly kind of started off as a joke. Last year we did, I think, over $2 million just picking up dog poop.
What made you decide to try to do both? And do you think it was a good decision?
One person, they can make 6 figures plus without any employees if they just are willing to go out and scoop dog poop. So it's really appealing to a lot of people. Dominant YouTube search, basically any poop scoop related term. We're showing up number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Welcome to the next episode of the Entrepreneurial Excellence Podcast. I'm excited to have William Milliken with me here today. So William is a fascinating character. I got to know him a little bit. And he is sort of different than our sort of standard guests that we have, which is actually a great thing because entrepreneurs come of every shape, form, size, business type, you name it. There's so many types of entrepreneurs out there, and it's sometimes easy to forget that. At least for me, being sort of in the tech space, that, this podcast is all about the world's greatest entrepreneurs. And so many of them, actually, in some ways you think about right now, Warren Buffett with his recent announcement that he's stepping down from Berkshire Hathaway. And at least for me, you think about that, I'm like, oh man, like he was an entrepreneur, right? He actually, I don't think officially started Berkshire Hathaway, but essentially was, and like built this into something amazing. And he always avoided tech until very recently when he bought Apple shares. But essentially, he avoided tech forever and became the world's richest man and one of the most well-known people. Not the richest man, I guess he's in the top, I don't know, 5 or something, but not too bad from that perspective. So it's really important to understand there's so many different businesses out there. There's so many people who are making money in different ways. So we have William here. He started at least 4 businesses. We're trying to go through it beforehand. Doesn't even remember all of them, but at least 4 businesses. And the most interesting one and most recent is actually helping scoop poop from people's backyards, which sounds sort of silly, but is a real business. And then on top of it, he has a whole educational element to helping other people start their own dog poop scooping, I guess dog or cat poop scooping businesses themselves, which also is its own business. And it sort of shows entrepreneurial spirit comes in so many different forms. So William, thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, absolutely, Adam. Appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. So why don't you give everyone a little bit of a rundown just briefly of like your businesses, what they're doing, maybe high level on like revenue, team size, what they look like, and then we'll dig into sort of why and how and all those pieces.
Mm-hmm. So I guess I'll go back a little bit. So my background's in digital marketing. I used to do a lot of marketing for like home service type companies. I realized I make more money if I own the company instead of just doing marketing for people. So I started partnering with operators. So I started an electrical company, partnered with a guy that's an electrician for 30 plus years. Take that from 0 to 7 figures in about 5 months. Kind of a similar story with a garage door company. And then most recently, and probably the fastest growing company, is this dog waste removal business, which honestly kind of started off as a joke. It's probably the opposite of a tech business, right? We're out scooping dog poop for people. But the thing blew up. Last year we did, I think, over $2 million just picking up dog poop in the online education business. We started that last year as well. And I think that might do close to $1 million itself as well, which is kind of crazy to think about.
That especially for that $1 million in the education one, I mean, that's pretty pure margin by comparison. Because of course, with courses, you can resell those over and over again without there being you have a lot of work up front to build a really good course.
Yep.
But after that, it's essentially pure margin, so almost like a software play.
Yeah, it's definitely high margin. You probably don't have the same like retention and like churn rate as like a software company or a true software company, but it's definitely got the margin part of it in there.
Freaking amazing. So quickly go into the idea of like, okay, you're doing marketing. How did you get good at marketing? How was that like a thing you were even good at in like your early days of your career?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I kind of just had to figure it out. Just YouTube. I had a good friend of mine that was kind of like a mini genius in the marketing world that kind of took me under his wing, kind of showed me the ropes. We worked at a big advertising agency, working with all the biggest accounts kind of in our area. That advertising company didn't want to work with all the small business type people. So we ended up leaving the agency, doing kind of our own thing there. And then eventually ended up leaving doing marketing for other people entirely just to focus on starting my own businesses.
And so, okay. Sorry, go back on that a little bit. So you're this guy whose partner is like a genius and stuff, doing great. You're probably underselling yourself. You must be pretty good at some of the marketing side of things yourself. And what do you think differentiated yourself? Also, did you go to school for any of that, or were you just fully self-taught?
Yeah, fully. So I did go to school. Have a 4-year degree in like social work of all things. So uh, I used to be big in the outdoors and do backpacking and skiing. So I was trying to figure out a way to get paid to like do cool stuff. I used to be like a whitewater raft guide.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, maybe I do social work or work with like at-risk youth or something like that. I could do cool stuff. And then I realized that I made basically minimum wage after that. I needed to make some money. So kind of pivoted at that point.
Okay. So you pivoted at that point, realized I needed to do something different. And you got into marketing, you just started someone offered you a job. Like once again, like just even walk people through the idea of how do you kind of get yourself started in
The first probably 6 months to a year. So yeah, 'cause I mean, I was a dirt bag. I knew how to go like skiing, camping. The person that it's actually how I met the person that did the marketing in the first place was kind of through those activities. So yeah, kind of got lucky, I would say, with that one.
don't undersell yourself. Like you didn't get lucky. Like if you got lucky maybe meeting him.
Yeah.
But you still obviously had some skills. So yeah, what do you think those skills were that differentiated you even in those early days that you were like, this person was willing to take a risk on this ski bum. Yeah, sociology degree or something.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a lot of especially character traits at the beginning. So willing to actually show up, being somebody that like has integrity. They're doing what they say they're going to do. They follow through. I think a lot of those kind of not necessarily hard skills, but like personality traits, I think go a long way, especially in the beginning. Like for me, if somebody wants to come under my wing, I'd rather have somebody that's kind of displays those character traits, right?
Yeah, I mean, actually, how many people right now are at Poop Scoop overall, like across the entire company?
We usually, I think we peak around 30 to 40 kind of during our busy season.
And how many of them, I mean, how much of a challenge is it for you? Because you have people who are going, I mean, maybe describe this, like, I mean, the way I understand it from when we talked previously, essentially, I have a big backyard. I am lazy and don't take my dog on a walk. So instead, I just let my dog go into the backyard to go to the bathroom. And next thing I know, my backyard is full of poop everywhere. And I don't really want to go deal with that myself. So I hire someone to come and pick up all the poop.
Yep.
Okay. I assume in a business like that, it's very critical to have people who actually show up on time. Otherwise, your clients and customers are really pissed. They're like, I was at home, I've been waiting. Your person didn't even show up. And they have a stinky backyard and they want that fixed also.
Yeah.
So how important of a skill set is it for getting people who are essentially reliable?
Oh yeah, no, it's like the number one thing, especially in this industry, right? We're not doing rocket science. You don't need like a journeyman electrician with 8,000 hours. I mean, you just need somebody that can drive and pick up dog poop. So it's not overly complicated. So we're really looking at some of those traits for reliability and things like that. And then we also try to set up the business to where it has a little bit of wiggle room. So we don't give our customers arrival times or arrival windows, anything like that. We actually even let our employees pick their own schedule as long as they get their route done for the day. But we do have quite a bit of flexibility. If somebody calls out sick, we can just push a couple yards on to the next guy, kind of a thing. So we rarely do miss yards, but obviously it gets a lot more difficult if people aren't showing up to maintain that consistency.
How do you hire for
that? So the way that we set it up is we wanted to make it kind of the best entry level labor job possible. So we tend to pay a couple dollars an hour more than FedEx, Amazon, all the other kind of local landscape companies. We provide benefits. We let people take their trucks home. So we get a really big pool of applicants. Every time we post a job ad, we probably have over 100 applicants per position that we're posting for. So we really take our time, and we probably, like I said, we filter through 100, 125 resumes, get maybe 5 or 6 ride-alongs from that, and then hire usually 1 or 2 people.
Really? So ride-along. So you're having them come in the truck with you, see what the work's like.
Yeah.
Do people self-select out of doing that? Or do you usually, it's more like you saying, hey, for whatever reason, we didn't vibe in, or I don't feel it?
Yeah, we'll try to get people to self-select out if we can, because it's definitely not the easiest job, especially like in our area. We're in the Pacific Northwest, so it's rainy. Sometimes it's snowy. Sometimes it's really hot outside. So people are outside pretty much all day. So just making sure they have the right expectations set up front.
Then but what do you look for? How do you identify someone who is reliable from a ride-along or their resume?
Yeah, so usually there's a couple things. One thing that we like to look for is if somebody already has a job. That's usually a telltale sell, right? If somebody doesn't have a job, they could start tomorrow. That's usually not a good sign. If somebody's put it in their 2 weeks notice, those things are kind of a good sign. Longevity in their job, especially if they're working for one of the more well-known places like an Amazon or a FedEx, because they definitely have employee standards for attendance and things like that. So there's kind of those telltale signs.
Yeah. So you're looking for essentially previous experience, not necessarily in poop scooping, but in reliability around, like you've been able to hold down a job.
Not a ton of people with a lot of poop scooping experience. Yes. Yeah.
I wonder if there's a specialty around how to do, you're going to create a course on how to poop scoop properly, not just how to build a business.
That's right. We got it, actually.
I'm not shocked. Okay. So going back to your sort of job stuff, right? So you're this reliable person. So part of why I wanted to go down that path for a second was, I think it's something underlooked by a lot of people, that reliability and frankly just showing up is a key trait in success. Like so many people are like, oh, it's unfair, I didn't get this or that. I'm like, dude, you didn't show up. Like it's not that hard. Although it is clearly really hard for people. So why was that a personality trait or something you just inherently knew, or did someone tell you that?
I think it probably came back. I mean, my parents didn't make a ton of money. They worked really hard. I think my dad was a truck driver growing up, like throwing freight locally. When I graduated high school, I basically went to college full time. I worked full time. I was throwing freight in like a warehouse. I'd stay up till like 2 a.m, unloading trucks and stuff, get up and have to go to school at whatever, 8 or 9. So it's just kind of something, that I just did, I guess. I don't know. I put too much thought into it, but, yeah, I would just grind it out.
Okay. So that was where it came down to. You just grind it out. You get this marketing job, going through all that. And then what are the next steps? How did you get through to sort of your entrepreneurial journey? And how did you come to the conclusion, like, okay, you got good at marketing. Like what were the secrets of marketing that you realized were good, right? Because marketing changes so quickly. So it's not like, don't tell me like, oh, do SEO today. I'm more curious about like, what are the criteria that you think made you a successful marketer and clearly still a very successful marketer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think a couple of things is, obviously finding what works and doubling down on that. Now, as I got a little bit more sophisticated, it's definitely knowing your numbers, so tracking things like your customer acquisition cost. And in business, it's really just what's your customer acquisition cost or what's your customer lifetime value. And basically, how can you just dump as much money into that profitably as possible? And I think that's kind of really the big key, just making it as simple as that. And then just finding the channels that can mathematically work for your business.
And then so for Poop Scoop, and in the show as well, like what are actually give people a little bit of an overview, by the way, of the show. Like how many people do you have like watching you on YouTube? How many people are paying for the courses? That sort of stuff. Just so people kind of get an idea of your scale, because you're not really a LinkedIn person, but you are on other social media channels pretty.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're not massive. We like I said, we just started this about a year ago. So we're a super niche channel. We got about, I think, 8,000 YouTube subscribers. And then we're just about to hit 900 paying members in Poop Scoop Millionaire Community. So they pay about $70 a month, times 900. And then obviously we got sponsors and affiliates and other things like that to make up another chunk of the revenue. But, and we're gaining about 40 to 45 new members every week.
That's amazing. I mean, so do you think that, speaking of like just a business growth perspective, right? When you're like, okay, you have a niche channel, like once again, when we first spoke, I was like, I'd never even heard of this. Now, granted, I live in a city where I have a teeny tiny backyard and I don't have a dog, so poop scooping is not an area that I know well. But it sort of like makes sense. Okay, well, people are clearly willing to pay for this, and your channel is all about helping people understand how to go build essentially their own competitor to Poop Scoop or Swoop Scoop. Sorry,
yeah,
that is what you're essentially training people on, is to build a competitor to you.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you decide to go in that direction?
Yeah, well, I know part of our growth strategy, I mean, we could franchise. We were looking at acquiring other companies. We were looking at just continuing to open up more locations ourselves, which we're continuing to do. But when we were looking for other companies that we wanted to acquire, there wasn't really any out there that were worthwhile. So that was part of it. And really, I don't really see them as competitors right now, because still the vast majority of people don't even know this industry exists. So kind of our mission right now is to make this more of a mainstream industry, like lawn care or electrical work or plumbing or anything else like that. So it's kind of the mission right now. And it helps everybody. We got all these people in our community. I'm able to go out and negotiate like discounts on equipment, discounts on software, discounts on other things like that. So it does kind of help everybody out, but it also opens up opportunities in the future. Something goes through our courses and maybe they want more help, and maybe we do decide to franchise. They're already going to know, like, and trust me, or maybe they want to sell their company at some point. We're kind of the leader in the industry, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So it opens up a lot of options for us in the future.
What made you decide? I mean, initially, like, there's a lot of advice that entrepreneurs get that say, hey, look, you should be really focused on your core business. And so I could argue, if I were your advisor, I would say, like, hey, look, you should just focus on Swoop Scoop. Focus on growing that. You have tons of other cities and towns you can go to in Northwest, let alone all of the West. Yeah, build out to. just focus on that. And instead you've, of course, have built this whole other business on YouTube in courses. What made you decide to try to do both? And do you think it was a good decision?
Yeah, well, so I have a business partner that usually handles all the ops. He handles all the hiring and all the training and actually fulfilling all the service. I really just do the marketing and kind of back end stuff, which at this point basically runs itself for the most part, other than checking on it here and there. We just have ops manager, office manager, we got field manager for every location. So there's not a lot in the day to day that I have to do. But in our area specifically, there's also a lot of seasonality. So we'll probably acquire 70-80% of all our clients for the year, the first quarter of the year when all the snow's melting or the weather's really bad. And we pretty much just chill out over the summertime. So I basically just got bored.
That's sort of the secret to entrepreneurship in some ways. Is like you're getting bored, you want to figure something else out, and like what else can you do with your time? You're like, oh, I can go make a course. But how did you even come up with the idea of making a course? Like, have you heard about what made you hear about this as like an option?
Yeah, well, I was a big follower of Alex Ramosi. I think I started watching his channel when he had like 5,000 subscribers or something, like way back in the day.
If you could have invested in him, you should have.
I know. Yeah, I didn't have any money then. But yeah, I mean, I think we literally used to like watch one of his videos and we'd break it down and we try to figure out how we could apply it to Swoop Scoop.
Who's we?
Me and my business partner, Levi.
Nice.
Yeah.
You literally watch the videos, like, what is he doing that's like good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. That's also once again the secret of a lot of, I think, YouTubers are really successful is they do exactly what you just said. Is like, we're breaking down what other people are doing successfully and trying to build our own version.
Yep, exactly. So he had invested in school. I actually had no idea what it was. Their ads at the beginning were like super big, and I kind of toyed around with it. And I don't know, probably a couple months later, said, "Screw it, let's just see what happens." And actually, what really prompted it, I forgot all about this, is I did a podcast with somebody else. I maybe had like 3,000 followers, another pooper scooper business, because most pooper scooper businesses aren't doing millions of dollars a year in revenue. So I did this podcast, and I probably had 20, 30 companies reach out that wanted like one-on-one coaching. I was like, I don't really want to do one-on-one coaching. So I just kind of threw out a number. Okay, I'll talk to you guys for whatever, a couple hours for like $1,500. I think he probably made like 20 grand within the first month or so doing that. And that's kind of what actually really sparked it. Cause, I didn't want to do one-on-one coaching, but there's definitely a big demand and people were willing to pay a lot of money to hear from me. So
yeah, I mean, so essentially you said, how do I scale myself up? Multiple copies of myself without having to, you can't actually make multiple physical copies of yourself. So you have to find some other way to do this.
Right.
Okay. So you started that. And by the way, explain to people what schools, I know it's the course, the platform you use to run the course, but explain to people what it is.
Yeah. So it's a community platform. So we have the courses in there. What's kind of interesting is a lot of people actually join for the courses, but most people end up staying for the community aspect and just networking with their fellow pooper scooper or fellow, like whoever, based on whatever your course is built around. So within there, we got courses, basically A to Z, how to start a pooper scooper business, how to run ads, how to hire people, how to train people. We have all the community discounts we've negotiated. We do live training. So we'll bring in like a CPA or an attorney or somebody that's good at Google ads or whatever. They'll do live trainings every month. And then really we got a big focus on the community side of things. So the more people engage, they can win prizes and things like that. It's really kind of gamified, which helps people stick in the community.
And is that stuff you have to manage yourself or they take care of it?
Those are all the features, built within school. And I think school put a pretty big effort on just keeping things as simple as possible. So there's literally just like a couple tabs, a couple different things that you can do, and just kind of optimizing that.
That's cool. Okay. So going back to the business itself. So you're running this up, it's going well. You start going back to Swoop Scoop Millionaire. How are you able to add so many new people a month? Like what are the key elements you're doing to grow that entrepreneurial side? I think probably in the world who are searching for like poop scooping or something.
Yeah. So not a ton of people searching for that, but now there's actually quite a bit more. I'd say probably the number one thing to the success is just kind of the value to price discrepancy, because I could probably charge a couple $1,000s for a similar course. Just basically giving people the information for $69 a month. So I think it builds a lot of goodwill in the community. Our average member stays probably 16, 17 months right now. About a 5 to 6% churn rate, which is not bad. Average at school is 18%. So we're actually doing pretty good.
Yeah, you're doing great. But once again, like, how are they finding you and how are they growing? Is it because they are basically someone's like searching for maybe the solution to their own poop scoop issue, and then they find you and they're like, oh, maybe I could go build a side hustle doing this?
Yeah, so YouTube is probably our number one driver of traffic is YouTube. We basically dominate YouTube search. Basically any poop scoop related term, we're showing up number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of a thing. Working on dominating Google search next. Trying to get more media exposure, so do things like podcasts, I've been on some pretty big YouTube channels. I was actually on Hormozy's channel, like super briefly, Cody Sanchez, super briefly, even Godzi, like super briefly, just like little 30-second spots here or there.
How are you getting on there? Are you paying for that or?
No. So the Hormozy one, I went to one of his workshops and actually talked to him. So the clip of me is me asking him a question about our dog poop business. So it's kind of got that virality to it, right? Because people don't really hear about it too much. People aren't starting businesses like that. So they use that and basically reached out to Cody Sanchez. They wrote up a newsletter about us because they thought it was interesting. And they just put us in one of their videos the other day. And then Eamon, I have no idea how he heard of us. Somebody just sent me a clip that he mentioned our community on his channel, which was kind of funny. And then we had a full feature on Upflip, which has over 1 million subscribers. So they actually came out and flew out and did like a full video on our company and put it on their channel.
All right. So like, but is this just like slowly, like how are all these things coming your way? I guess it's a little bit of grinding it out, making sure you go to the workshop, like the Hormozy workshop. Like what are the key things you're doing to, some people might say, well, this just sounds charmed. Like it's just sort of like up and to the right. It's working perfectly. Like William, it's like taking it off. Like what are the things you're doing? Try to break this down a little bit. What are the things you're doing to help make this grow?
Yeah, well, I think being strategic, like especially with like the YouTube, right? So we dominate YouTube search. If there's any like free media or earned media that we're getting, people are typically getting served up our ads, just kind of how the YouTube algorithm works.
So are you dominating search? Like what is, when you're saying just Google search, like, or YouTube search, like what is it that you're doing to dominate it?
I think it's just being super niche specific. So we don't make videos on anything other than pooper scooper topics, right? It's just optimizing your titles, optimizing.
Super focused on the key optimization that you care about in the message.
Like that's all we're focused on is just, pooper scooper content, like how to get clients for your pooper scooper business, how to start a pooper scooper business, how to budget for your pooper scooper business, all those kind of terms. We just make videos like that week after week after week after week. And we don't do anything fancy. We don't do anything different. We just stick to that.
Yep. And okay. So, and I assume, is that a core tenet you would say that every entrepreneur should focus on? It's like be very focused.
Yeah, well, definitely now as I'm starting to get bigger companies, I think that's definitely going to be something that's important to stay focused. It's really easy to go try to be on like a cajillion different channels at the same time and have nothing work really well. So it was, okay, see that the YouTube's working, see that it's bringing in consistent traffic, and then also see that it's a kind of a net to catch all these other things that we're doing.
So given that level of focus and what you're, I mean, there's only probably so much you can read about building a better poop scooping business. So like, what do you do to keep yourself busy and focused and like continuous improvement? Like, and that's sort of question number one. And then number two is, what does your day-to-day look like when you're like, I'm building a business? How do you think through that? Actually, sorry, maybe back up for all that. What are your goals? Like when you think through like your goals as a business leader, what are those goals? Is it to be build a hundreds of millions of dollar revenue business? Is it to, I think you just moved into a new house, like move in, have a nice house for you and your family. What are the big goals that you have for yourself and the business? And then how does that impact the decisions you're making day to day?
Yeah, well, definitely changes over time once you start to see what's possible, right? So coming out of high school, you don't know what's available in the world. Coming out of college, the world gets a little bit bigger. Going into business, the world's got a little bit bigger. So I think right now our goals, I want to get to at least 8 figures with the poop scooping empire, I guess you can call it. So it's kind of the minimum that we're looking at. But I think it definitely has a lot more room to grow, especially if you go nationwide with Swoop Scoop. So that's one. Personally, like it doesn't really matter to me if I buy a nicer car, a nicer house, or a nicer watch or whatever. Like I got a lot of that stuff, so it doesn't really matter. It's more about just having fun, being useful, helping out other people, and seeing how far we can take this thing. So
no, I love that. That's a similar. I share a similar mentality. What does it do for your day to day? So what does that look like day to day when you're like, I'm heading towards this 8-figure business? Mm-hmm. How does it drive you? What do you do when you wake up in the morning? Like, I'm excited to go learn more about dog poop or something. Like, it sounds silly, of course, that's kind of the fun part of it. It's sort of a silly thing to joke about. But seriously, like, there's not like a lot of material or information probably about like, if I go build a SaaS software company, there's trillions of pieces of content and books written by all the famous entrepreneurs who are multi-billionaires about how to go do this. Yeah. There aren't a lot of books and stories about how to go build a poop scooping business. Yeah. But my guess is maybe you would say, well, it's not about pooping or scooping. It's about just building a great small business or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as far as the day-to-day goes, it's going to look a little bit different depending on the season. So right now, I basically start the day. I'll do podcasts. I'll occasionally make a video, but even that, I'm starting to do less and less of. because we've been able to bring in other pooper scoopers to make videos for the channel. So we're getting different perspectives. They're doing interviews. There's less key man risk, so the business gets.
That's cool. So wait, are you doing like of your team, like you're doing interviews of your team essentially, and have like someone on your team as like a social media manager is going to interview these other folks?
So not even that. So I call them PSM personalities. So there's another company down in Texas that's doing over $1 million a year picking up dog poop. There's the person I did that podcast with originally that had a couple thousand followers. She now makes videos for our channel. So just bringing other people to kind of be the face of the company. So I'm not necessarily stuck as the face of the company, because that's a pretty big trap with education businesses. As you get tied to it, it's not worth anything. So trying to solve for that, think ahead. And as far as the day-to-day goes, I'm basically just replying to messages, trying to come up with strategies. We got like a live event coming up right now called ScoopCon. So that's in a couple of weeks. So
Is
prepping for that.
your own event?
Yep. So we got our own event. We got a couple hundred people flying out to hear me talk about dog poop, I guess. So.
And when these people are coming out to hear you speak about this or to join these communities, is it because they have this abiding interest, they want to just start a new small business, they want to start a business they can hopefully make successful into their own sort of independence?
Yeah, there's definitely a mix. But most of our new members are coming in because they heard about the opportunity. It's a relatively simple business, right? One person, they can make 6 figures plus without any employees if they just are willing to go out and scoop dog poop. So it's really appealing to a lot of people. And then you also have your mix. There's probably not a ton, maybe less, around 1,000 actual pooper scooper companies that kind of exist throughout the country. So a lot of them aren't as big as us. So they want to learn the strategies. They want to learn what we're doing with our company. And they also just want a community of other pooper scoopers, right? Because it's kind of a weird business to be in. There's not a lot of people that you can relate to, I think, for a lot of these people.
So when you're trying to upskill yourself, what else are you doing? Like what resources do you pull on? What do you read? What do you look at? What do you listen to for your own upskilling knowledge? Once again, like it's a simple business you're in a sense, but I think you're downplaying the nuances of what it means to actually build a successful business. That you're so much more to, yes, scooping poop is simple and straightforward. Like I probably could go figure that out myself.
Yeah.
I could watch one of your free videos and figure it out. I wouldn't even need to maybe watch a video.
Yeah.
Like buy a few tools on Amazon, buy some like biodegradable bags or buy whatever special bags I need.
Yeah.
And start doing it. So the actual work, quote unquote, is straightforward.
Yeah.
But building a successful business is not. So what are the key elements that you look for there, or how do you upskill yourself on that?
Really, kind of like I alluded to earlier, the main thing that I'm looking at is just your CAC to your LTV. So just finding new ways to acquire customer for less money, whether that's implementing remarketing or other strategies like that, getting more referrals, word of mouth, all those kind of things drive down your CAC and then increasing your LTV. So like churn rate's one of the number one things that I look at. So if we've implemented things like quarterly billing, which has reduced churn rate, we've implemented some add-on products, different service frequency options. So anything we can do to kind of reduce churn rate. As far as where I learn stuff, it's going to be primarily YouTube or me just talking with my best friend, ChatGPT.
Oh, look, but I mean, that's a great point. Like even then, I think there's a lot of people who don't realize that you should be using today. AI is good enough that every single person who aspires to be almost anything in the world should be using AI as their companion for a lot of these questions and be like, what should I be doing here? What ideas should I have? How do I upgrade this or do that? Yeah. So are you chatting with AI on a daily basis?
Oh yeah. Pretty much on a daily basis, multiple times a day. I probably spend more time on ChatGPT than anything else. And it's just, learning to ask the right questions. So
like what would be an example of a question you've asked today?
Well, one thing that I've been using it for, so we're building like a mastermind course, right? For the higher level pooper scoopers that graduate from the regular Poop Scoop Millionaire. So just kind of going through the different frameworks and just making sure I'm able to communicate that in an effective and really simple way, because it's really easy to just go on tangents and spend an hour talking about stuff when you can really dissect all the value into maybe 10 minutes. So that's something that I'm working on, especially with the courses. I want to give people the information as fast as possible.
And so are you then feeding ChatGPT, like, here's the draft of what I've written up or the video I made, help me cut this down in different ways, or what would you change, and essentially feed it?
Where I'll just say, hey, here's like the 4 like major points. I'll write a couple paragraphs that I really want to convey. Here's why I think it's important. Help me do it. And then it spits it out, and then we'll go back and forth a couple times until it's right.
Very cool. Okay. So going back, you mentioned something that I don't know if everyone listening understands. Can you break down a little bit more for LTV, so lifetime value, and CAC, cost of acquisition? Define those a little bit more for people when you think through, like, what is a good LTV to CAC ratio that you care about? What even is a LTV CAC ratio in the first place? What does that mean? Mm-hmm. And why is that so important? Why is that? It sounds like almost the number one metric for you in the business.
Yeah, so CAC is just your customer acquisition cost. How much does it cost for you to acquire a customer? LTV is how much money does that customer pay you over the lifetime of their subscription. So CAC's really easy. How many customers you get divided by how much money you spent on marketing, or the other way around. And then LTV it's really easy for subscription-based businesses, especially if you're in tech. And then for our business is a subscription-based business. So we just take our average monthly ticket and divide it by our monthly churn rate. And that gives you kind of your approximate lifetime value.
Yep. And then, so then when you're thinking of those two things, as you said, you're thinking through like, okay, well, how do I improve churn? Because churn is actually a really key lever, right? If you can get someone to stick around for an extra 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 months or something, that dramatically changes the lifetime value of that customer, which then changes how much you can spend on marketing.
Yep. 100%. So yeah, churn is big. There's a lot of things that you try to do. So both Boop Scoop Millionaire and Swoop Scoop, one thing that we've done is try to implement longer billing cycles. So instead of billing, a lot of companies that bill people weekly or after every visit, you start off monthly. But we found if we push it to quarterly, it dropped our churn at Swoop Scoop from 4-ish% to less than 1% for our customers that were on quarterly billing.
That I would not have imagined. Is it, and even though why do you think that is? Just people don't notice it as often, so they're not paying attention to their bills, basically, and like they're not paying attention.
I think that's one part. Obviously, they're also probably the higher quality customers, right? That can actually afford to pay more money on that. I think Hormozy talks about this. They call it like the look back period. So it might not necessarily be as strong in this industry, but say you have a SEO agency, somebody pays you $5,000 a month, you make them $10,000 the first month, great ROI. You make them $25,000 the second month, great ROI, but then you don't make them anything the third month, and then they cancel. But if they look back over that 3-month period, they saw that they spent $15,000, made them $35,000. They're gonna stay, obviously, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. So it's changing the billing cycle actually, improves overall retention. But I guess a lot of people don't like to do it that way because the companies might need the cash up front. Like for you have to essentially float that, right? Because you have to pay your hoop scoopers every week or probably every month at minimum. And so you're essentially floating that cash difference between when you get paid and when.
So not exactly. We actually pre-bill all our customers, which eliminates all sorts of issues.
You're actually making money on the float the other way around.
Yeah. So especially when we started, this was awesome because we were able to achieve a customer financed acquisition. So we'd spend like $50 to get a customer. We'd charge them for $100 initial cleanup in the prorated first month. Use that money to go get 2 or 3 more customers, and that's how we were able to scale up. Because we started this business like $1,000 like a couple of years ago, which was great. And then on the other side too is something that we're looking at. Just kind of like on the churn side, for the employee side, I've been doing some research, and it actually looks like you have higher retention the faster you're able to pay your employees. So instead of paying them once a month or every other week, we're looking at paying them at least once a week, just so they get a little quicker reward window. There's another industry, the trucking industry. They actually made it illegal. They used to pay people by the mile, and the money would just like drop into their account as they were driving. And people would drive for 2 or 3 days straight and get in all sorts of trucking accidents and stuff.
Really? Because just
because how upset you're that
it gamified things so much that they just people wouldn't stop.
Yeah. So shortening the reward cycle for our employees, lengthening the pain cycle of how often people pay us for our customers. Looking at little things like that starts to add up.
But it's all these small things. Like once again, I think you undersell yourself and your creativity and thoughtfulness on this stuff. But I'm like, wait, why don't most standard quote unquote businesses that have like a W-2 employees, why don't they pay their employees on a weekly basis? I don't know. Like, do you have any idea? I'm actually really curious. I'm gonna go research this later.
Probably a little bit more administrative headache for them, right? Because you got to run payroll more often. You got to calculate things a little bit faster.
Yeah, but most of these systems now automate some of that. And obviously, as you know, my business, we do that work anyways, is sort of what we do. And if there's a clear, the same way with any business, if I can keep my team happier and have lower turnover on my team, huge upside for my business. So it's well worth the cost for me to figure out, even if there's a slight overhead administrative burden, the upside is really clear if we can do this with some amount of
honestly, I just think people aren't very thoughtful about a lot of these things. Maybe they had a W-2 job and that's just how they got paid. So that's how they're going to run their company, at least in the realm that I deal with. A lot of the home service type companies anyways, right? It might be different for bigger companies, but.
So related to that, one thing you mentioned earlier on that I think was really differentiating too with regard to employees is paying them what 20%, 30% more than the average for the sort of similar type jobs. Why did you decide to do that, right? The easy thing for most founders to do is say, hey, look, I'm going to pay market or even a little below market, and it's going to save me a little bit of extra cash. And then they forget that it means you might get worse people, have higher turnover, all these other things. And in the end, it's probably not it's not a smart decision overall.
Yeah.
How did you make that choice though? Because that's not an easy decision to make, because once again, it's a hard thing to say. I'm just going to pay more upfront because the dollar cost is really obvious, whereas the other things are harder to measure.
Yeah. Well, for me, I always go back to, I want as little problems in my life as possible, right? So if we're able to get better people and have less turnover, I'm willing to pay that extra money like every time. Even bringing in like business partners. Sure, this was probably a business I could have started by myself, but I didn't want to have to mess with all the operations and hiring and doing all those things. So I brought in a business partner that handled that part of the business so I can just do what I want, basically, and not feel stressed.
I mean, that is a great goal in life. It's funny, my wife and I joke about this a little bit. We're trying to get rid of sort of these, not quite rental properties, but sort of a property that we sort of just did diversify our finances. And I've come to the conclusion it's just not worth the headache. Like, yes, it's a diversification play, but my wife literally this morning woke up and she's like, "Oh, we just got this inspection report back and we've replaced the roof." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like I just don't even want to deal with it. Like, we're trying to sell the house. Like, literally, we're like, can we just give them a discount and be done?" It's frustrating and annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I would do that exact same thing. Actually, I sold all my rental properties. I was even buying stuff like Sight Unseen and like Ohio and all this weird stuff. I was just like, no more.
Okay, that's very fascinating. Let's go on that tangent for a quick second, right? Why did you? I mean, certainly can talk about my journey, but like, why did you decide I want fewer headaches in life? Like, how did you make the decision? I don't know if you're open. Like, approximately how old are you? Like, what made you come to this conclusion in life that you're like, the finance, a little bit less, diversification maybe doesn't matter. I just don't want the headaches.
Yeah. I'm 31.
I mean, so I would say that's pretty young, right? Like, to come to these conclusions and already build all these successful businesses, pretty young, which is props to you.
Yeah.
Coming to this sort of conclusion in life, how did you come to that?
I just got tired of dealing with stuff, right? So even with property managers and stuff, they still got to call you. This went wrong and that went wrong. I just want to deal with it. Plus the ROI that you get on your own business is like 100x more than you get on a rental property, right? You make whatever, a couple $100 a month. Some of them are paid off. You make $1,000 a month. Like, I don't really care about $1,000 a month.
Which maybe it's a luxurious thing to say that for a lot of people. Maybe they would care about it, but I hear your point, which is that maybe like rephrase this. Tell me if this sounds accurate to you.
Yeah.
You reach a point in your career where you're saying like, hey, like there's certain things that are really important, and the value of my time and where I spend that time is start to become a higher priority. It's like earning a little incremental extra income is less important than me using the time that I have in ways that I either enjoy more or that actually lead to higher value in the long term, which is like building your own business. So
yeah, well, I would even say the cost of like your attention, right? Because you got all these things where the sewer line can break or the roof can go wrong. You got like this little bit of anxiety kind of in the back of your head all the time, right? Even though those things probably won't happen, they can happen. They have happened probably to both of us. So I didn't want to mess with it like whatsoever and just be 100% focused on things that are growing big. Even to the point now where I'm probably selling everything else that I got other than the scooping companies. So
yeah, no, I mean, look, I love that. It's very, as I said, it's very similar to my mentality. It's just, we don't have that many distractions, but even the few that I have, I'm like, these just aren't worth it. Like, I only want to do things, A, that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And B, that let me focus directly on building my company, right? For back office services.
Yeah.
I just want to go focus on that because to me, I enjoy that more. Like, I have no knowledge or ability to really understand like how to go get a roof replaced.
Yeah.
Like, I can learn about it. I can figure it out. You can hire someone, but I don't know if they're going to be good. I don't know what good looks like. These sorts of things. Or I can just get rid of it and off my plate. And okay, I don't know, maybe I reduce my diversification a little bit, but the whole point of a great entrepreneur in my mind is someone who is reinvesting massively in their own business. That's actually what success looks like.
Yeah.
So that's great. So then going back to the question about employees. So how did you come to that conclusion about, hey, I'm going to just pay people more? What was it?
I think it was, I don't want headaches. I want the best people. The way I went into building this company is I wanted to do everything like as premium as possible. We wanted to be able to charge as much as possible. So wrap vehicles, background check employees, uniforms, nice website, nice branding. That was kind of my intention kind of from the get-go. So I figured should probably have the best employees to match, right? So have the best comp structure and be able to get the best people.
How do you set about how much more to pay? Like, okay, fine, cool. It makes sense you want to hire the best employees, but is it like, why was it instead of a 5% increase in salary, it's a 25% increase off of
Well, I mean, we're not dealing with huge number, right? Somebody makes $20 an hour, we pay them $22 an hour. It's not massive, right? That's 10%. That does add up over 20, 30, 40 people, obviously. But we're also switching to a pay for performance model. So it's going to be a little bit irrelevant in the next couple months anyways.
But even still, like that means you still want to get the right people in the door who are focused and good. How do you try to explain that to other people? Because once again, I think too many people, myself sometimes included, it's too easy to focus on the small incremental costs. Like, oh, I'm going to pay people like 10% more, and forget about the other elements, or I'm going to just go for the cheaper website because I can just get a website up for free. Unlike, all these sites that let a website up for free. Yeah. How do you, what is the mentality that you have that says, I'm going to go spend a little bit more to get this stuff done?
Yeah. Well, I think it kind of comes back to that initial decision, right? What company do you want to be? Do you want to be the premium market leader, charge the highest prices? Do you want to be kind of somewhere in the middle? Maybe you're a good value option, or do you want to just try to win on being cheap and like pumping out a ton of volume? I think a lot of people, they just randomly fall into one of those categories and aren't thoughtful about how they build their business, and it causes issues for them.
It does. What made you decide that you wanted to be the premium player? Like how did that come to your mind? It doesn't sound like it just...
Probably because how we started in the first place. I mean, my wife had hired a pooper scooper and they sucked. I mean, they didn't have, they didn't even show up half the time. They billed everybody on Venmo. I could like see all their clients' information on the app. It was really bad. So I kind of want to do the opposite of that. And then that's also how we kind of grew the electrical company as well, as we got the best technicians. We tried to get the best branding, and that's what caused us to ultimately grow as fast as we could. We're able to charge higher prices, have higher margins. We're able to spend more money on marketing. Our LTV was higher. Just creates a lot of benefits.
Why didn't you stay in the electrician business? Like, why did you decide to go do pooper scooping?
Well, honestly, I had a buddy from school that saw how well we were doing and wanted to start a business with me. And I was like, all right, let's see what happens. I wasn't really expecting much to come out of it. Maybe make an extra $1,000 a month, right? Like the rental property. But once we actually started getting the business going and starting to see kind of that core economics for how little we could acquire a customer for how much they were worth, and it was pretty obvious that was the right business to keep scaling with.
And that's, you're talking about the poop scooping business.
Yeah.
Instead of the electrician business.
Yeah. And so it's so much easier too. Like I got to find somebody that's got 8,000 hours, and they got to have a journeyman electrician license, and they got to know how to sell stuff and talk to customers, and also be good electricians. Or I can pay somebody $22 an hour to pick up dog poop. Like it's recurring revenue. It's low ticket, right? So it's a lot easier to sell instead of a whatever $8,000 panel change and EV charger. I'm selling $100 a month subscription to pick up their poop. It's got virality behind it because people find it funny or interesting, so it's a lot easier to advertise with. And we're also not limited by search volume like you might for a local home service company. If something breaks, people just Google you. You're not really able to run like Facebook ads or other type of media like that as effectively at scale.
And so, but in walk us through like briefly about how you kind of fell into this too. It was just literally you had a poop scooper come to your house because you didn't want to deal with the hassle and the chore of picking up poop.
Yeah.
And they sucked, and you're like, we can do this better. Like, what was the history behind this idea that's now?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where it came from. And then my friend from high school, we were trying to figure out what we could do. He couldn't do plumbing, couldn't do HVAC, he couldn't back up a trailer to even start like a lawn care company. So what's a super easy service anybody could do with no skill, and it just kind of all meshed together at the perfect time.
Okay, but still, like, go a little bit deeper. Like, okay, your buddy, it meshed together. Like, how did it mesh together? Why did you think this would be? There's a million ideas in the world. Were you chatting with AI as well? Like, what idea should we go help my friend build? But like, I even spend time thinking like what you could help your friend build when you're focused on you have a successful electrician business. Yeah, it's frustrating and a hassle, but
I just got bored. Like I said, once the marketing's set up and everything's working, it really doesn't take that much time. So I got 30 hours a week of extra time. If I'm only working 40 hours a week. So it's kind of like, I gotta do something, or I'm going to just pull my hair out.
What do you think makes you different, right? In the sense that, like, I think a lot of people listening to this might say, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur, but like, man, like if I had 30 extra hours in the week, I would go work out more. I'd watch more TV. I do all these other things, with my time. What makes you different where you say, you know what, I get bored and I'm going to go figure out ways to make for a better business?
Mm-hmm. I think it might go back to kind of before I was always just kind of in the grind mode, right? So I got this time, I don't know necessarily what to do with myself. You almost feel a little bit lost, but then you start to get good at something like business, right? And then it starts to become more than business. It starts to become something that you actually enjoy doing. Like I'd rather work on a business than go water ski or like whatever, you know what I mean? Just because that's what I enjoy now. I think it has a lot to do with as you get better at something, the more you tend to enjoy it, right? When you start something new and you suck, it's not as enjoyable. So I've been putting in the time, putting in the reps, and just keep trying to level up.
Are there people you look up to, books you read, bios, things like that that help you learn about just business in general, like resources that you think people should look at?
I'm not a big book reader or anything like that. I mean, the Hormozy books are great, like the $100 million offers, $100 million leads. Really, a lot of it's just been listen to YouTube, podcasts, things like that. Coming up with ideas, running it through AI to see if it's actually a good idea or not a bad idea, seeing how different ideas apply to your particular business, and just not being afraid to ask questions, even if they're dumb. You talked about going to the gym. I started going back to the gym. It's like, okay, if I get red dumbbells, will that help me lift slightly more because it triggers more aggression? Just like trying to get creative and asking the right questions and just seeing how far you can take things and just trying to get a little bit better.
Yeah. No, I mean, that is the secret to many things. When you think through stuff with your like family, like work-life balance, whatever you want to call it, how do you think through that as well? Like, in what you try to do there from a business and life perspective?
Yeah, so it obviously depends on the season. So if I'm like grinding super hard, which I'm not really having to do anymore, I used to, I'll get up early, go to work from whatever, 7 to 5, come back, hang out with the kids for a couple hours, and I'd work from like 8 to midnight after they fell asleep, kind of a thing. So that was definitely a part of it. But right now things are a little bit more relaxed now that we got all the managers and kind of the day-to-day stuff's kind of handling itself for the most part. We're just focused on working on the business.
In when you, so let's finish the work-life balance stuff. Like, so for you, what does sort of a normal day-to-day look like then?
So right now, I'll get to the office, usually about 8 o'clock. I started trying to go back to the gym. So now Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I won't show up till 10:30 because I go to the gym in the morning. Usually hang out till 4, head home, and that's pretty much the work day right now.
Not bad. Okay, so then how did you get good at delegating as well? How did you get good at saying like, I'm going to hand all these things off to all these managers, hire good managers, and just say like, I trust you, and like, and what do you tell them to bring you? Like, what are the things that come up to your level for you to deal with?
So I still pretty much oversee all the marketing. I don't really have anybody that I delegate that to, but it's pretty simple. We're just running Facebook ads, Google ads, our ranking, organic, all that. It's kind of.
Do you just you're better at it than anyone else? Like, what makes you decide I want to hold on to that element?
I'm trying to get rid of it right now. That's probably one of the next hires. So I know we talked about that. So using a company like yours to get rid of get HR, get finance, get marketing, and then kind of all those core departments are going to be taken care of. That will enable us to get to that kind of 8-figure mark. So I won't be able to manage it myself.
So how do you decide though to hand this stuff off, right? I think this is another problem a lot of entrepreneurs have, or especially early on, is they don't know how or don't feel comfortable delegating because no one else can do it probably as good as you can. Like when you hand off marketing, your marketing lead might not be as good as you, at least right off the bat, right? They're going to be learning the ropes, how your business works. They might hopefully come with their own ideas and you hire someone good.
Yeah.
But you still have to be comfortable handing things off. And a lot of founders are not. How do you get good at that? Or like, how do you think through that on daily? Like when do you hand things off and how to delegate?
So I mean, even for us, we probably waited a little bit too long to start handing some stuff off. Like we didn't hire an operations manager till like 6 months ago. So my business partner, Levi, was just basically working every single day, all day. But it's definitely challenging, especially if you're like a smaller company, you're only doing a couple $1 million a year, maybe even less, because you're risking a lot of your profit, a lot of your cash flow on somebody that might not even work out.
Yeah.
So it's probably one of the more scary things to do.
So how do you make sure you do it right? And how do you decide like, it's time to go do this? Like, how do you make that decision?
Yeah, so for us, we definitely look at like, okay, how profitable are we? Like, how much scale does this person have to bring to the table to kind of cover their costs and actually make it worth it? But then on the other side, if we don't hire these people, we're not going to be able to grow to the next level anyway. So we have to either stay the same or take the risk to continue to grow. And I want to keep growing, so we're going to take the risk. And then just trying to do things to stack the deck in your favor, right? So like paying a little bit more than market, having good benefits, like trying to have a good work environment, a good work culture. I think all those things kind of slowly stack the deck in your favor. But obviously, there's no guarantees, especially when it comes to hiring people.
No, I mean, it's a real challenge. Are there any secrets on that note of hiring people? I mean, we talked about hiring the poop scooper people, but like more senior executives, things like that, like things you try to do, questions you like to ask. How do you make sure you try to get it more right than wrong?
Yeah. So this is a newer subject for us. The only kind of higher level position we've hired is our ops manager. We got pretty lucky. They came from a large like Fortune 500 company that was maybe not quite Fortune 5. I think they're going bankrupt. So we were able to pull him from there, which was nice. Had a ton of experience managing like 100+ locations for a food place. So we got pretty lucky with that one. Having a good comp package, making sure that our incentives are aligned with their incentives. So this company makes more money or is more profitable, that position also starts to make more money. So the more you can align incentives, the more that you can take care of people, treat people the right way. I think that kind of stacks the deck in your favor. But obviously, we're still going through this, so I'm not the executive hiring expert yet.
No, but don't undersell yourself. And then in once again, like around the ability to delegate, it's just to like break it down. It's just, hey, you feel like this role is getting too painful for you or someone else to do, and you're looking into the future and saying, I need someone help here. Mm-hmm. Is there any other heuristics you use or ways you think through when to hire or when to delegate?
Yeah, well, for our business, we got some more information now. So one scooper, they can handle about 150 customers. One customer service rep, they can handle about 1,000 customers. Usually once you get above 6, 7 scoopers, you need to get a lead scooper in there that can oversee them. Once you get over 10, you need to have kind of a field manager to oversee the location. So we've kind of reverse engineered a lot of these things. We actually also use the school platform, and we've turned it into kind of like a learning management software for our own company. So every single job position, we basically have training videos. So if you're a scooper, you can go through the scooper training. If you're CSR, you can go through the CSR training. If you're a lead, you go through that. If you're a sales rep, you go through that. So that's helped a lot too. Just kind of think through what each person should be doing and just really documenting that particular role and why it's important when we need to bring those people on.
All right. Yeah, it's smart. I mean, documenting, having that information for people to go through and early on it's difficult to do, but also it sounds like really smart. And of course, we have the learning system anyways in place, so that helps.
Yeah, well, I mean, we already had all the courses and stuff. We just had to apply it to our business a little bit.
So a few other quick questions for you. So one, I completely forgot a question that I asked everybody, every guest right at the beginning, and I just completely forgot it with you. How do you define entrepreneurial excellence? Like, what does that look like? That's the name of the podcast. How do you define it? If you had to think through, like, what does a great entrepreneur look like?
For entrepreneurship, for me, I mean, obviously you look at how much money people make. That's kind of the measuring stick, right? But obviously there's a lot of things that go into it. So if I had to be like objective about it, it's like, okay, who makes the most money in entrepreneurship? Who makes the biggest impact for whatever their goal or their mission is? So you look at somebody like Elon's probably like the GOAT of entrepreneurship, right? He makes more money than everybody. He has the biggest impact. So it's probably what I would say.
Yeah, no, fair. And then when you think through like the other things, like what advice would you give yourself if you had to think through like yourself as a younger person, 10 years ago when you're just getting started? Anything you would change? Like you've obviously done really well. What would you have changed in your career or advice you would give that young person getting started?
I probably would have just started faster. To be honest, I probably would have don't go to college, just get started.
Yeah, I think so. Especially in the changing world of today. It's a fascinating question about whether anyone needs to go to college anymore. There's some benefits that college is wonderful in some ways, but it's incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
And the learnings that you get, especially when you have AI at your fingertips, which is essentially a co-pilot of the world's knowledge for everything. Yeah. It definitely hallucinates. It's not perfect, but it's a co-pilot to so many things. If you have to get good, I think, at asking questions, it would be my argument. Like you clearly are good at that. Like I use AI every day too, but it sounds like you use it way more than I do. You got to get good at asking questions and being creative and going back and forth and making it almost a sparring partner. Yeah. If you can build that skill, you don't need to go to school to go dive deep. You just have to have this level of curiosity. So maybe to wrap things up, like what is like one single piece of advice? If you could break all the advice down, all the key things we've discussed in this podcast into one single piece of advice that you would say you need to be a great entrepreneur. Like, sure, the definition is make more money than other people, as you said. But how do you break that down as like a piece of advice to achieve becoming a great entrepreneur?
Yeah. I'd say probably the number one thing is to actually go out and take action. I see a lot of people, they get analysis by paralysis. They could have the perfect website, the perfect business card, the perfect business plan. None of that stuff actually really matters. All that matters is that you go out, you take action, you get sales, you get cash flow for your business. So if you don't do that, you don't have a business.
Yeah, great. That's actually great advice. I try to tell that to my team on a regular basis too. But some of my folks, love all of them, of course, they like to spend a little bit too much time analyzing. I'm like, let's just go do. There are very few, to use sort of Jeff Bezos, Pacific Northwest, sort of Amazon reference, right? There are very few one-way doors that exist in business. And that's essentially a door you walk through and you can't go back. Most business decisions are two-way doors. And so the sooner you walk through that door and see what's on the other side, and then you might decide you want to walk right back and go back the other way. Like, the sooner you decide that you need to walk through that door and at least go check out what's on that other side, the better, because you can learn more. And then you might say, I don't need to go back through that door again. I can go to another door in a different direction with this new knowledge that I've gained. And I agree, the faster you do that, the better.
Mm-hmm. Well, even for us, it's even better because we could just share it with our community when we blow a bunch of money on something that doesn't work. And
that's smart, right? That's actually another way of almost double dipping. It's like, let's take more guesses and we actually make money by sharing those guesses with our ecosystem. William, this is inspiring to me. I need to go research if I can start paying my team in a different way, because I think that's just a small but like great small improvement that I can make for my own business. But also just reminder that there are so many different businesses that are out there that are successful. There's different ways to build stuff. There's so many needs in the market. And essentially, once again, going back to how you started, right? You found a need. Like, the person who was serving you for this need you had for poop, scooping up the poop you had, was doing a terrible job. And it's like, I can go do this better. And it just, boom, there's an idea, and just go do it. Like, you said, like, you can do it as yourself as an individual, and that's probably how you started. And then you started seeing you can market it, and one thing layers on top of the next. And now you're headed off to an 8-figure business.
Yep, exactly.
So how can people find you, William, if they want to learn more about you, more about the poop scooping business, building their own? Mm-hmm. Where are you available?
Yeah. So we got a lot of free resources on YouTube. It's called at Scoop Start. We have the Scoop Start blog. And if you want to talk to me, really the only way to talk to me is if you're in the Poop Scoop Millionaire community. You just basically Google it. It's the one on school. I check my DMs pretty much first thing in the morning, Monday through Friday. So I tend to get back to people pretty quick. Do not try to call Swoop Scoop. You will not get a hold of me. It's not possible. Just throwing that out there.
Do a lot of people try to do that?
Oh, yeah. I have a list. I think I have a list of over 100 people that have called in and just wanted to buy like a Swoop Scoop franchise. So,
and you're just like, we're not doing franchises right now, so not interested.
Yeah. Join the group and we'll talk later if we decide to do it.
Legit. Well, William, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. It's precious for all of us. So appreciate that you spending some with me and our community. And I look forward to hearing all about the business. And after our conversation the first time, I was like, I want to go start a poop scoop business. Once again, I don't know if I have enough time and too many other things going on in my life to go do that. It's more distractions. But it was inspiring to me to go think, what are these other hundreds of small businesses that people have not decided to go do, that I can just go step through that door and make it happen. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your time as well.
Yeah.